The massive crystal hall floated in space between two bright suns. Inside, representatives from 7 different alien worlds sat around a circular table that glowed with soft blue light. The air hummed with the sound of different languages being translated by advanced computers. Ambassador Zethkara stood up slowly. His reptilian skin was dark green with yellow stripes, and his eyes were bright red. He wore the ceremonial armor of the Vorthak Empire, polished metal plates that caught the light from the twin suns outside. Honored members of the council, Zethkara began, his voice deep and commanding. Today we discuss the final expansion into the outer territories. The dead zones that have remained empty for too long. The other aliens listened carefully. The insect-like Zalathi clicked their mandibles in agreement. Their black bodies gleamed like armor, and their compound eyes reflected the room's light in thousands of tiny rainbows. The crystalline Kryn made musical sounds that their translators turned into words. The old star charts warn of dangers in those regions, said Council Leader Morthan, a tall blue-skinned being with 6 arms. Ancient texts speak of the children of Terra. They say these creatures are violent beyond measure. Several aliens made sounds that translated as laughter. Zethkara's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. Myths and legends, Zethkara replied. Stories told to frighten young ones. My military scientists have studied these tales for years. If such beings ever existed, they are long gone. The outer territories show no signs of advanced civilization. Admiral Vextar of the Zalathi Hive stood up. Her body was larger than the others of her kind, marking her as a military caste. The Zalathi Queens agree. We have sent scout ships to the edge of the dead zones. They found only empty space and primitive radio signals, and nothing that suggests real technology. The Kryn representative created a series of harmonic tones. The translator converted these into words. The songs of the ancients speak of beings who fought with metal that fell like rain from the sky. But these are just poems, old stories with no truth. Zethkara activated a holographic display above the table. It showed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, with the outer territories highlighted in red. The mineral wealth in these systems could power our civilizations for 1,000 years. The Vorthak Empire, the Zalathi Hives, and the Kryn Harmonies have agreed to divide these territories equally. The display zoomed in on specific star systems. Each one showed rich deposits of rare metals and energy sources. The alien leaders looked at the wealth with obvious hunger. What of the radio signals? Asked another council member. Primitive or not, there might be life in those systems. Nothing more than early civilization, Admiral Vextar replied. Perhaps they have discovered fire or simple tools. The standard relocation protocols will handle any primitive inhabitants. Far away from the Crystal Hall, in a different part of space entirely, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the Earthship Intrepid. The ship was smaller than the massive alien vessels, but it moved through space with quiet efficiency. Captain, called Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her position at the communications station, I'm picking up something interesting on the long-range scanners. Morrison was a man in his early 40s with brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had spent 15 years in space, first as a merchant captain and then with the Earth Defense Force. What kind of something? Large formations moving toward our territory. The computer counts over 300 ships in 3 separate fleets. Amy's fingers moved quickly over her controls. They're maintaining communication silence, but I'm detecting encrypted signals. Can you break the encryption? Amy smiled. She had been the best code breaker at the academy before joining the Defense Force. Already working on it. The patterns are complex, but they follow logical mathematical structures. Give me an hour. Morrison stood up and walked to the main viewing screen. Space looked empty and peaceful, filled with distant stars. But he knew that alien civilizations had been active in this region for centuries. Earth had been watching them carefully, learning about their technologies and cultures while remaining hidden. Sir, Amy said after 40 minutes of intense work, I've broken their code. You need to hear this. She played the translated alien communications through the ship's speakers. Morrison listened to the planning sessions, the discussions of myth clearance operations, and the casual way the aliens talked about relocating or eliminating human colonies. They think we're legends, Morrison said quietly. They believe humans are just old stories. Should we contact Earth Command? Amy asked. Morrison nodded. Open a secure channel to Admiral Brooks. Priority Alpha. The communication took several minutes to establish the proper security protocols. When Admiral Henry Brooks appeared on the screen, his weathered face showed immediate concern. Brooks had gray hair and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. "Report, Captain Morrison." Morrison quickly explained what they had discovered. He transmitted the alien communications and the scanner data showing the 3 approaching fleets. Brooks listened without interruption. When Morrison finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long moment. "How long until they reach our outer colonies?" "Based on their current speed, maybe 2 weeks." "Understood." "Return to Earth immediately, Captain. We need to convene an emergency session of the Defense Council." The transmission ended, leaving Morrison and his crew alone with their thoughts. For decades, Earth had chosen to remain hidden while building up their defenses. They had studied the alien civilizations, learned their strengths and weaknesses, and prepared for the day when contact would be inevitable. Back on the Alien Council Station, the meeting was reaching its conclusion. The 3 military powers had agreed on their division of the outer territories. They planned to move quickly, overwhelming any resistance with superior numbers and advanced technology. "The operation begins in 2 standard time units," Zethkara announced. "The Vorthak will take the northern systems, the Zalathi will claim the central regions, and the Kryn will occupy the southern territories." "What if the myths prove true?" asked a small voice from the back of the room. The question came from a young representative of a minor world. The more powerful aliens looked at him with barely concealed contempt. "Then we will add 1 more extinct species to the history books," Admiral Vextar replied coldly. The council session ended with formal agreements and military coordination plans. The aliens left the Crystal Hall confident in their overwhelming advantage. They had conquered 17 worlds using the same tactics, and they saw no reason why these outer territories would be any different. None of them realized that their communications had been monitored and decoded. None of them knew that the mythical humans had been preparing for this moment for longer than their civilizations had existed. The war between myth and reality was about to begin. Dr. Elena Martinez sat in her laboratory deep beneath the surface of Earth. The walls were covered with screens showing detailed analysis of alien biology, technology, and culture. She had spent her entire career studying the civilizations that humans had been secretly observing for decades. Elena was a small woman with dark hair and intelligent brown eyes. She wore a simple white lab coat over casual clothes, but her mind contained more knowledge about alien species than anyone else on Earth. The intelligence reports from Captain Morrison lay spread across her desk. 3 different evolutionary paths, she said to herself, making notes on her computer. The Vorthak are reptilian predators. They evolved from hunters, so they think like conquerors. The Zalathi are hive-minded insects. They see everything as either part of their colony or a threat to it. She pulled up detailed files on the 3rd species. The Kryn are crystalline beings. They communicate through sound frequencies and think in terms of harmony and discord. Very different approaches to warfare. Meanwhile, millions of miles away in space, Fleet Commander Golrath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator's Edge. The massive Vorthak vessel was 10 times larger than any human ship. With thick armor plating and powerful energy weapons, Golrath was old for his species, with scars across his green scales from dozens of battles. He had personally conquered 4 different worlds and never lost a single engagement. His yellow eyes studied the tactical displays showing the human-claimed star systems. "Intelligence reports, Commander?" he asked his aide. "The humans appear to be primitive, sir," replied Sub-Commander Kreshta. "We detect basic radio communications and simple chemical rockets. No evidence of advanced weapons or shield technology." Golrath made a sound that indicated satisfaction. "Excellent. The standard conquest protocol should be sufficient. Overwhelming force, followed by relocation of survivors to designated areas." He had used this same approach on every world he had conquered. It was efficient and usually resulted in minimal resistance after the initial demonstration of Vorthak power. Back in human space, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Hughes prepared for a dangerous mission. His ship, the Phantom, was one of Earth's most advanced stealth vessels. It could move through space almost invisibly, using technology that the aliens had never encountered. Ryan was a tall man with short black hair and steady hands. He had led reconnaissance missions against hostile forces for 8 years, but this would be his first time observing alien technology up close. "Are you sure about this, Colonel?" asked his pilot, Major Lisa Thompson. If they detect us, we won't be able to outrun 300 alien ships. Ryan checked his equipment one more time. That's why we're not planning to get detected. We go in quiet, gather intelligence on their weapons and tactics, then get out before they know we were there. The Phantom launched from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. Its special hull coating absorbed most types of scanning energy, making it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. The ship moved carefully toward the alien fleet formations. On Earth, President Linda Carter sat in the underground situation room with her top military advisors. The room was filled with screens showing the positions of both human and alien forces throughout the solar system. President Carter was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and a reputation for making difficult decisions under pressure. She had been briefed on the alien threat and the various options for responding to it. General Walker, she said to the man sitting across from her, what are our capabilities? General Chris Walker was the head of Earth's military forces. He was a large man with a serious expression and decades of experience in strategic planning. We have been preparing for this scenario for 40 years, Madam President. Our technology is different from theirs, but we believe it is superior in several key areas. Explain. The aliens use energy-based weapons and rely heavily on shields for protection. Their tactics focus on overwhelming firepower and numerical superiority. They have conquered other worlds by destroying their defenses with massive energy bombardments. President Carter nodded. And our approach? We use kinetic weapons and electronic warfare. Our ships are faster and more maneuverable. Instead of trying to overpower enemy shields, we use projectiles that punch through them at high velocity. The president looked at the tactical displays. What about their numbers? They have 300 ships. Quality over quantity, ma'am. One of our destroyers can take on 5 of their vessels under the right conditions, and we have been building ships for longer than they realize. Far from Earth, Ryan's stealth mission was providing valuable intelligence. The Phantom had moved close enough to scan the alien ships in detail. What they found was both encouraging and concerning. Their ships are heavily armored but slow, Ryan reported back to Earth Command. They mount massive energy weapons, but their targeting systems are designed for large, stationary targets. They've never fought enemies that move like our ships do. What about their numbers? Came the response from Admiral Brooks. Confirmed. 3 fleets with roughly 100 ships each. But Colonel, their formation discipline is terrible. They fly in ceremonial patterns that look impressive but create tactical vulnerabilities. This information reached Dr. Martinez in her laboratory. She compared the alien fleet formations with historical data from their previous conquests. They always fight the same way, she realized. Standard intimidation tactics followed by overwhelming energy bombardment. They've never adapted their strategy because they've never needed to. The alien fleets continued their approach toward human space. On the Zalathi command ship, Admiral Vexitar reviewed the final preparation reports. Her compound eyes processed multiple data streams simultaneously, while her mandibles clicked in satisfaction. All Hive ships report ready status, announced her communications officer. Weapons charged, shields at maximum, navigation systems locked onto target coordinates. Excellent, Vextar replied. Send the standard surrender demand to the primitive humans. Give them 12 time units to respond before we begin demonstration attacks. The message was transmitted toward human space, using powerful energy beams. It contained the usual demands for immediate surrender and relocation of all human populations to designated areas under alien supervision. On Earth, the message was received and translated within minutes. Admiral Brooks read it carefully, then walked to his communication station. Open a channel to the alien fleet, he ordered. Sir? His communications officer looked confused. We're revealing our position and capabilities. That's the point, Lieutenant. It's time they learned that humans are not myths. The response from Admiral Brooks was simple and direct. This is humanity. You have 36 hours to withdraw from our territory. This is your only warning. The message reached the alien fleet simultaneously. On all 3 command ships, the alien leaders reacted with what their translators indicated was amusement. The primitives think they can threaten us, Golrath said to his officers. Perhaps we should demonstrate the futility of resistance. Agreed, came responses from the other fleet commanders. A small demonstration should convince them to surrender immediately. None of the aliens realized that their communications were still being monitored. None of them understood that humanity had been preparing for this exact scenario for decades, and none of them suspected that the primitive species they planned to conquer had been studying them far longer than they had been studying humanity. The countdown to first contact had begun, and both sides were confident in their inevitable victory. Commander Zeth Kara stood on his bridge, looking at the tactical display with confidence. The small mining colony of New Pittsburgh appeared on his screens as a cluster of simple buildings and industrial equipment. Intelligence reports suggested fewer than 5,000 human inhabitants. 3 destroyer-class vessels should be more than sufficient, Zeth Kara told his officers. A simple demonstration of Vorthak power will convince these primitives to surrender immediately. The 3 Vorthak ships moved toward the colony in a standard intimidation formation. Their hulls gleamed with polished metal armor, and their energy weapons charged with visible power. Each ship was 300 meters long and carried enough firepower to level a city. On the surface of New Pittsburgh, Colonel Beth Williams watched the approaching ships through her command center's viewing screen. She was a woman in her late 30s with red hair and calm green eyes. Her uniform bore the insignia of the 3rd Colonial Defense Regiment. All stations report ready status, she announced to her officers. Remember, we let them get close before we reveal our positions. The mining colony looked exactly like what the aliens expected to find. Simple prefabricated buildings, mining equipment, and what appeared to be a small spaceport with civilian shuttles. But Colonel Williams and her people had spent 2 years preparing for this moment. Enemy ships entering optimal range, reported Lieutenant David Clark from his position at the targeting station. All defensive positions locked on target? Beth smiled slightly. Wait for my command. The lead Vorthak destroyer, the Crushing Talon, moved to within 5 kilometers of the colony. Commander Zeth Kara activated his ship's external communication system. Primitive humans. His voice boomed across the colony's communication frequencies. You will surrender immediately and prepare for relocation. Resistance is futile against the power of the Vorthak Empire. Beth picked up her communicator and responded calmly. This is Colonel Beth Williams of the Human Colonial Defense Force. You have 10 seconds to leave our territory. The bridge of the Crushing Talon erupted in what sounded like laughter. Your threats amuse us, primitive. Prepare for demonstration of true power. Fire, Beth said quietly. The mining colony suddenly revealed its true nature. What the aliens had thought were simple storage buildings opened up to reveal massive railgun installations. The mining equipment was actually sophisticated targeting systems and missile batteries. Even the spaceport was armed with defensive weapons. The first railgun shot hit the Crushing Talon at 40% of light speed. The kinetic projectile punched through the ship's energy shields as if they didn't exist, then tore through the armor plating like it was paper. The Vorthak destroyer exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The second ship, the Iron Fang, tried to activate its shields and return fire, but the human weapons were unlike anything the Vorthak had ever encountered. Instead of energy beams that could be absorbed or deflected, the humans used solid projectiles moving at incredible speed. A spread of antimatter missiles launched from hidden positions around the colony. The Iron Fang's defensive systems were designed to intercept energy attacks, not physical projectiles. 3 missiles found their target and the ship disintegrated in a chain of explosions. The 3rd Vorthak destroyer, the Blood Spear, tried desperately to retreat, but the colony's defensive grid had been designed by people who understood alien tactics. Every escape route was covered by overlapping fields of fire. Lieutenant Clark locked onto the fleeing ship with his targeting computer. Target acquired. Firing. A massive railgun slug accelerated to 60% of light speed caught the Blood Spear as it tried to jump to hyperspace. The ship split in half and tumbled through space, dead in the water. The entire engagement had lasted 90 seconds. Beth activated her communicator again, this time broadcasting on all frequencies. This is New Pittsburgh to any alien forces monitoring this engagement. The next time you approach a human colony, remember what happened here. News of the defeat spread quickly through the alien fleets. On the Zalathi command ship, Admiral Vextar stared at the tactical reports in disbelief. Her compound eyes processed the data over and over, but the results remained the same. 3 destroyers eliminated by a single colony? She asked her tactical officer. How is this possible? The humans used kinetic weapons, Admiral. Solid projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. Our shields are not designed to stop such attacks. Vextar made clicking sounds that indicated deep thought. Send this information to the Hive Queens immediately. We need new tactical assessments. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison received new orders aboard the Intrepid. Instead of returning to Earth, he was instructed to link up with 2 other ships for harassment operations against alien supply lines. The destroyers Valiant and Defiant arrived at the rendezvous point exactly on schedule. Captain Susan Price commanded the Valiant, a tall woman with blonde hair and a reputation for aggressive tactics. Captain Tony Garcia led the Defiant, a stocky man with dark hair who specialized in electronic warfare. "Gentlemen, lady," Morrison said as their 3 ships held formation in empty space, "our mission is to make the aliens' lives as difficult as possible, while the main fleet prepares for larger engagements." The human ships were much smaller than alien vessels, but they had been designed with entirely different principles. Where alien ships focused on massive firepower and heavy armor, human vessels emphasize speed, maneuverability, and precise targeting. "First target is an alien supply convoy," Susan reported, studying her tactical display. 20 cargo ships with escort vessels. They're using a standard convoy formation. Tony smiled. "Standard formations are predictable formations. I can jam their communications while we hit them with coordinated strikes." The 3 human ships moved toward the alien convoy using stealth technology that made them nearly invisible to enemy sensors. They approached from 3 different directions, timing their attack perfectly. The alien escort ships never saw them coming. The first indication of trouble was when their communication systems suddenly stopped working. The second was when kinetic projectiles began tearing through their hulls. The human ships attacked like wolves hunting in a pack. They struck quickly at the most vulnerable targets, then disappeared back into space before the aliens could organize a counterattack. Within 10 minutes, half the convoy was destroyed and the other half was fleeing in panic. "Clean work," Morrison commented as they regrouped at a safe distance. "The aliens are learning that their standard tactics don't work against us." Back on the Vorthak flagship, Fleet Commander Golrath received reports of multiple attacks on his supply lines. The humans were striking quickly and vanishing before his forces could respond. It was unlike any enemy he had ever faced. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported nervously, "the humans appear to fight with entirely different tactical principles. They avoid direct confrontation in favor of mobility and precision strikes." Golrath's yellow eyes narrowed. "Then we will adapt our tactics. Increase patrol frequency and improve coordination between our fleets." But adaptation took time, and the humans were not giving the aliens time to adjust. Small human forces appeared throughout the region, striking at vulnerable targets and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. On the Kryn Harmony's ship, the crystal beings created musical patterns that expressed growing concern. Their harmonic councils analyzed the human attacks and reached a disturbing conclusion. "The humans fight as if they have studied our methods for many cycles," the lead Kryn announced to the assembly. "Their tactics are specifically designed to counter our standard approaches to warfare." The thought was troubling. If the humans had been observing galactic civilizations for extended periods, it meant they were far more advanced than anyone had realized. Dr. Elena Martinez, monitoring alien communications from her laboratory on Earth, smiled as she read the intercepted transmissions. The aliens were beginning to understand that they had made a serious mistake. "They're starting to realize that we're not primitive," she reported to Admiral Brooks. "But they still don't understand how long we've been preparing for this." The first phase of the war was ending exactly as human military planners had predicted. The aliens had expected easy conquest against primitive opponents. Instead, they were learning that humanity had been ready for this conflict for decades, but the real surprises were yet to come. Admiral Vextar believed that overwhelming numbers would solve the problem. The Zalathi commander had gathered the largest battle fleet in her species' history, over 200 ships of various sizes. Their target was the Proxima Centauri system, which intelligence reported as a lightly defended agricultural world. "The humans have shown skill in small engagements," Vexitar explained to her subordinates, "but they cannot stand against the full might of the Zalathi hive fleet. We will demonstrate the futility of continued resistance." The massive alien formation moved through hyperspace toward their target. Each ship bristled with energy weapons and carried thousands of Zalathi warriors. Vextar had personally commanded the conquest of 6 different worlds, and she had never encountered a defense that could withstand such concentrated firepower. In the Proxima Centauri system, Admiral Patricia Stone waited calmly on the bridge of her flagship, the Thunderbolt. She was a woman in her early 50s with silver hair and ice-blue eyes that had seen too many battles. Around her, the crews of the 7th Battle Group prepared for the largest space engagement in human history. 12 ships against 200, commented her tactical officer, Commander Robert Hayes. Those aren't exactly favorable odds, Patricia smiled coldly. Numbers aren't everything, Commander. These aliens are about to learn why humanity has survived this long. The human ships were hidden in the asteroid field that surrounded Proxima Centauri. Advanced stealth technology made them invisible to enemy sensors, while sophisticated targeting systems tracked every approaching vessel. The aliens would have no warning until the battle began. Enemy fleet emerging from hyperspace, reported Lieutenant Kevin Foster from his position at the sensor station. Confirmed count, 212 vessels in standard intimidation formation. Patricia activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Stone. Remember your training and trust your equipment. We've been preparing for this moment our entire careers. The Zalathi fleet spread out across space in a formation designed to inspire fear in their enemies. The largest ships moved to the front, their hull-mounted weapons charging with visible energy. Behind them came waves of smaller vessels, each one capable of destroying a city. Admiral Vextar looked at her tactical display with satisfaction. The human system appeared completely defenseless. No ships were visible on sensors, and there were no signs of orbital defensive platforms. Begin the standard demonstration bombardment, she ordered. Target the largest population centers. Once the humans see our power, they will surrender immediately. But as the Zalathi ships moved into attack position, Admiral Stone gave her own order. All ships, fire. The asteroid field suddenly came alive with weapons fire. 12 human dreadnoughts revealed themselves simultaneously, their hulls emerging from stealth like predators striking from ambush. Each ship was smaller than the largest alien vessels, but they moved with deadly precision. The first salvo of human weapons caught the Zalathi completely by surprise. Antimatter torpedoes and kinetic penetrators struck the alien formation before they could raise their shields or coordinate their defense. 6 Zalathi ships disappeared in brilliant explosions. Launch fighters, Patricia ordered. Commander Alex Turner led the fighter squadrons from the cockpit of his advanced interceptor. He was a young pilot with exceptional reflexes and years of training against simulated alien tactics. Behind him, 60 human fighters streamed toward the enemy formation. The alien fleet tried to recover from their surprise, but human weapons were unlike anything they had encountered. Instead of the energy beams they were prepared to defend against, solid projectiles moving at incredible speed tore through their ranks. Coordinated fire on the command vessels, Patricia announced. Take out their leadership and the rest will collapse. The human ships fought as a unified force, their advanced computer systems sharing targeting data and coordinating attacks in real time. While the aliens struggled to organize their massive formation, the humans struck with surgical precision at key targets. Admiral Vextar watched in horror as her fleet disintegrated around her. The humans fought with tactics that seemed designed specifically to counter Zalathi battle doctrine. Every standard response she tried was anticipated and countered. All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessels, she ordered desperately. Overwhelming firepower will overcome their advantages. But the human ships were already moving, using their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid the concentrated alien fire. They struck quickly at vulnerable targets, then vanished back into the asteroid field before the aliens could respond effectively. Dr. Elena Martinez monitored the battle from her laboratory on Earth, intercepting and translating alien communications in real time. She could hear the growing panic in their voices as they realized that their standard tactics were useless. Admiral Stone, she transmitted to the battle fleet. Alien communications indicate they're trying to coordinate a retreat. Their command structure is breaking down. Patricia smiled grimly. Understood, Doctor. All ships pursue and destroy. Don't let them regroup. The human fighters, led by Commander Turner, swarmed through the alien formation like angry wasps. Their weapons were smaller than those mounted on capital ships, but they could strike at targets that the larger vessels couldn't hit. This is incredible, Turner reported as his fighter squadron destroyed another alien ship. Their fighters are twice our size, but they can't maneuver worth anything. It's like fighting flying bricks. The battle continued for 3 hours, but the outcome was decided in the first 10 minutes. The Zalathi fleet, designed to overwhelm primitive defenses with massive firepower, was completely unprepared for enemies who fought with speed, coordination, and tactical flexibility. When the fighting finally ended, over 160 alien ships had been destroyed or disabled. Admiral Vextar's flagship was among the damaged vessels, its engines destroyed and its weapons offline. Patricia ordered rescue operations to begin immediately. Human ships moved through the wreckage, saving both human and alien survivors. This was standard procedure for human forces, but it shocked the aliens who had never encountered enemies who showed mercy to the defeated. On the disabled Zalathi flagship, Admiral Vextar watched human rescue teams work with efficient professionalism. They treated alien wounded with the same care they gave to their own people, using medical techniques that were clearly superior to Zalathi healing methods. "Why do they save us?" Vextar asked one of the human medics through a translation device. The medic, a young woman named Dr. Sarah Kim, looked up from her work. "Because that's what civilized people do. We don't kill helpless enemies." The concept was completely foreign to Vextar's understanding of warfare. In every previous conquest, the defeated were either enslaved or eliminated. The idea of showing mercy to enemies was something her species had never encountered. Meanwhile, on the Kryn homeworld billions of light years away, the Resonance Assembly analyzed recordings of the battle with growing alarm. The crystalline beings created harmonic patterns that expressed deep concern about their situation. "The humans fight as if they have studied our methods for many cycles," announced the Prime Resonator. "Their tactics are specifically designed to counter standard galactic warfare doctrine." The implications were disturbing. If humans had been observing galactic civilizations for extended periods without being detected, it suggested a level of technological sophistication that no one had suspected. "Send immediate communications to all allied fleets," the Assembly decided. "The humans are not primitive. They represent a previously unknown advanced civilization that has been deliberately concealing its capabilities." But this revelation came too late for many alien commanders. Human forces were striking throughout the region, using tactics that turned the aliens' numerical advantage into a liability. Large formations became easy targets for coordinated human attacks, while small groups were picked off by superior human technology. Fleet Commander Golrath, receiving reports of defeat after defeat, finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. The primitive humans were actually an advanced military civilization that had been preparing for galactic contact for decades. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his aide grimly. "Nearly 40% of our total fleet strength," came the reply, "and human losses are minimal. They fight with technologies and tactics we have never encountered." Golrath's yellow eyes darkened with the realization that his career of easy conquests was over. For the first time in his life, he faced an enemy that was not only prepared to fight back, but was actually winning. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting, and the aliens were beginning to understand that their assumptions about human civilization had been completely wrong. The emergency council sessions were unlike anything the three alien powers had ever experienced. Fleet commanders who had never known defeat now faced their governments with reports of catastrophic losses and tactical failures on every front. Fleet Commander Golrath stood before the Vorthak High Command in the great war chamber of their capital world. The massive reptilian leaders listened in silence as he described the systematic destruction of their supposedly invincible fleet. "The humans fight with technologies we do not understand," Golrath explained, his voice heavy with the weight of failure. "Their weapons penetrate our shields as if they do not exist. Their ships move faster than ours and strike with perfect coordination." High Commander Velthak, the largest and most scarred of the Vorthak leaders, leaned forward on his throne. "You are telling us that primitive creatures have defeated the greatest military force in the galaxy?" "They are not primitive," Golrath replied firmly. "That was our mistake. The humans are an advanced civilization that has been deliberately hiding their capabilities while studying our weaknesses." Meanwhile, Admiral Brooks stood in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface, watching tactical displays that showed the positions of hundreds of human ships throughout the solar system. The time for hiding was over. Humanity would reveal the full extent of their military capabilities. "All fleet commanders report ready status," announced his aide, Captain Jennifer Walsh. The combined Earth fleet is assembled and awaiting orders. Brooks looked at the massive formation on his screens. Ships from Earth, Mars, the Belt Colonies, and the outer settlements had gathered for humanity's final demonstration. The fleet numbered in the thousands, each vessel representing decades of careful preparation and advanced technology. The aliens are planning one last attack on Earth itself, Brooks said to his staff. They believe that destroying our homeworld will end our resistance. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The three alien powers had indeed decided on a desperate final gambit. With their individual fleets in ruins, they would combine their remaining forces for a coordinated strike at the heart of human civilization. Intelligence reports suggested that Earth was the center of human government and culture. Admiral Vextar, her flagship repaired but her confidence shattered, led the Zalathi survivors toward the Sol system. Beside her flew the remnants of the Vorthak and Kryn fleets, their once proud formations reduced to desperate fragments. "This is our final opportunity," she transmitted to her allied commanders. "If we can destroy the human homeworld, their colonial territories will surrender." But as the combined alien fleet approached Earth's solar system, they discovered that humanity had one more surprise waiting for them. The Sol system wasn't just defended, it was a carefully designed fortress that had taken 40 years to build. Chief Engineer Matt Thompson had spent his entire career designing Earth's planetary defense network. He was a quiet man with gray hair and hands that were permanently stained with machine oil, but his defensive systems were works of art. "All orbital platforms report ready status," he announced from his position in the primary control center. "Automated defense systems are online and tracking incoming targets." The aliens found themselves entering a kill zone that covered the entire outer solar system. Orbital battle stations hidden in asteroid fields came online simultaneously. Automated defense platforms that had been disguised as space debris revealed their true nature. Even the outer planets mounted defensive installations. Admiral Katie Johnson commanded the Terran Home Guard from her flagship, the Defender of Earth. She was a small woman with fierce determination and 30 years of experience in space warfare. Around her, the most advanced ships in human space prepared for the final battle. "Remember," she announced to her fleet, "this isn't just about defeating an enemy. This is about showing the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity's home." The alien fleet, already reduced by previous defeats, found itself facing the most sophisticated defensive network in known space. Every approach vector was covered by overlapping fields of fire. Every tactical option had been anticipated and countered. The battle for Earth lasted 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human technology, refined through decades of preparation, proved superior to alien weapons at every level. Kinetic bombardments tore through energy shields. Electronic warfare systems disrupted alien communications and targeting. Human fighters swarmed through enemy formations with devastating effect. Admiral Vextar watched her remaining ships burn in Earth's outer atmosphere and finally understood the magnitude of their mistake. The primitive humans had built a military machine specifically designed to defeat galactic civilization's standard tactics. "All ships, cease fire and prepare to surrender," she transmitted to her remaining vessels. "We have lost." Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding a heavy cruiser named the Peacekeeper, received the alien surrender aboard his ship. He looked across the conference table at the defeated alien commanders and felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. "Your governments will receive our terms within 24 hours, Morrison told them. "Humanity is prepared to establish peaceful relations with all civilizations willing to respect our sovereignty." But the final message came from Morrison himself, broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy on frequencies that all civilizations could receive. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Human Defense Force speaking for all of humanity. For decades, your civilizations have dismissed us as myths and legends. You believed that we were primitive creatures who could be easily conquered or eliminated." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "Today you have learned the price of those assumptions. Humanity has been watching you far longer than you have been watching for us. We studied your technologies, learned your tactics, and prepared for the day when contact would be inevitable." The message continued with humanity's formal offer of peaceful coexistence. Earth would establish diplomatic relations with any civilization willing to respect human territory and rights. But the galaxy now understood that humanity was not a species that could be threatened with impunity. 3 months later, the Terran embassy on Kepler Prime opened its doors for the first time. Ambassador Julie Foster, a woman with extensive experience in interstellar law, began the complex process of integrating humanity into galactic civilization. The transition will take time, she explained to her staff. These civilizations have never encountered a species like us. They're used to either conquering or being conquered. The concept of mutual respect between equals is new to them. Dr. Elena Martinez published the first comprehensive study of galactic civilizations based on decades of covert human observation. The revelation that humans had been secretly studying alien cultures for generations sent shockwaves through every government in the galaxy. "We watched you because we wanted to understand you," Elena wrote in her introduction. "We prepared for war because we hoped for peace. And now that contact has been established, we look forward to building a future where all civilizations can coexist without fear." The three alien powers signed formal peace treaties with Earth, agreeing to respect human territorial claims and accept humanity as an equal member of galactic civilization. The terms were generous. Humans asked for nothing more than recognition and the right to expand peacefully into unclaimed territories. Fleet Commander Gulrath, his military career ended by defeat, wrote his own analysis of the human campaign. "We assumed that military superiority meant technological superiority," he concluded. "We never considered that an enemy might choose different technologies for different purposes. The humans built ships to fight us specifically, while we built ships to intimidate everyone generally. The galaxy began to adapt to the presence of humanity. Trade routes opened between human and alien worlds. Cultural exchanges started slowly, but grew more frequent as mutual understanding developed. The former myths became reality, and both sides began to learn from each other. But perhaps the most important lesson was one that echoed through every alien military academy and government chamber. Never assume that an unknown enemy is inferior simply because they are different. The humans had remained hidden not from weakness but from strength. They had watched and prepared while others had dismissed them as legends. The age of easy conquest was over. Humanity had shown that even the most powerful civilizations could be defeated by those who understood them better than they understood themselves. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species from the small blue planet that had turned myth into reality.